So the instrument I'm having here in front of me and which I just played is called the RUDRA Veena, and it's possibly one of the oldest instruments of Indian classical music, especially of what we call Hindustani, the North Indian classical music. Sometimes when I'm coming on stage with it, and it doesn't matter whether it's a stage here in India, in KOLKATA, Delhi, or it is in Europe, in Berlin and Paris, or even London, I'm announcing it as the mother and the queen of Indian string instruments, to just point out the old history this instrument has. For common meetings, mostly when I travel in a train and people ask me, oh my God, what are you carrying there? Is it a sitar? I'm already wondering how they can make out it's an Indian instrument, but it's always a good catch. I can tell them, well, it's not so far from the sitar, it's like the grandmother of the sitar. So this RUDRA Veena has a quite long history. The ancestral types of these instruments have been mentioned even in the Vedas already. And a very simple kind of instrument type, like having just a bamboo stick and a half gourd, what we see here. We have mortis, means statues of a Shivji standing around 5th century. So we know around 1,500 years these type of instruments have been existing. This very simple type of instrument was called Alapini Veena, and then there came other ancestral types of this instrument up, called Ektantri Veena, other types were Kinari Veena. All of them got a few more features of the instrument, what we are seeing standing here, getting those pegs, the playing pegs, getting the tuning pegs, sorry, and the frets. So these were all features which were in the beginning not there. And the prototype of this instrument we know has been there around last 500-600 years. And this is in a time 14th century, 13th, 14th, 15th century, where a special music type in North India became famous called Dhrupat. It's a vocal type of music which again has its history coming up from the chanting of the Vedas, going through different development forms, and then developing into a kind of art music which was actually supported and promoted on the courts of the Mughal rulers as well as the Hindu rulers in the medieval age. And the RUDRA Veena used to become an accompanying instrument for this style of music. Later on, the 17th, 18th century, it developed its own instrumental form of this, what we call Dhrupat music. So your question has been why it is not more so popular today. Basically because its popularity goes back quite a few centuries, and I think that's already something for an old lady, you can say. For me it's a lady, it's a queen. I often call my Veenas queenas because of their kind of majestic and long history and their kind of appearance. So the instrument has been quite popular in the medieval age, developing different forms from accompanying music to soloistic music. And basically in the last 200 years what has happened is that here in the Hindustani music we got different new forms as well, vocal music, and then along with it instrumental music. New instruments like the sitar, the sarod, and even in the last century then folk instruments like the bansuri or the santur, they came up and took up a place to be instrumental music, or to lead instrumental music purely without being just accompanying instruments. What all of them actually have together is that the RUDRA Veena, and that's why it's really justified to call her the mother or the queen of Indian string instruments. For these instruments in the Hindustani music, it has given a certain blueprint on one type to few of the instruments in construction of the instrument. If we see even the simple tampura, or if we see the sitar, all of them having this special kind of a bridge which actually goes back even to the ancestral type of the Veenas, like the Ektantri Veena. We have this kind of convex bridge which creates a very different sound from typical instrumental bridges which we would find on guitar or violin. Something which we call Javadi. It gives a very typical kind of long sustained sound which enables this instrument, which is actually having the shortcoming of being a plucked instrument. Plucked string instruments usually have a very short kind of tone production. But this instrument gives us the ability to have a very extended tone, which again has quite a living amplitude. And with that, we are very much be able to produce sound as it usually the human voice would do. So as we already know in Indian classical music, there's always number one instrument, and that is the human voice. There are several reasons for it. There's a long history of that, and instruments always tried in a way to follow the voice, especially in this music which we call Drupad music. So the Rudra Veena over the centuries developed into one of the soloistic instruments in this Drupad music. Besides that, we had something which we call Senya Rabab, or the Indian Rabab, which was another instrument that later led into a form of the Surshringar, an almost extinct instrument today also. Or we have other types like the in-between instrument, the bigger sitar, bass sitars, people describe it sometimes, the soba. All of these instruments took a bit of the features of the Veena, but all of them, even those other instruments, took something from the music, how we build up, how we improvise a rag, the whole structure of having a rag, and then what we instrumentalists call Jor Jala. This is a structure which was designed basically on instruments like the Rudra Veena, and many of those features which are very common now on all instruments in Hindustani classical music actually coming from the Rudra Veena. In that way we can say the Rudra Veena as an instrument itself has become very rare on the stages. It's a fact which I'm trying to change, and like a few other people also, because we see still a meaning for this instrument. But of course it's understandable the way how the music of the Rudra Veena works, the way how it unfolds. It requires something which is a bit challenging for our days. Our days are marked by fast and short, and the Rudra Veena, to unfold a rag in Drupad on the Rudra Veena, is something which requires a bit of attention and a bit of patience. That's why we often speak also of meditative kind of a music. It's definitely a music which by its very nature brings you into a state which you can describe as leading inside, something which nowadays has become modern again. So many different yoga or whatever techniques trying to lead you somewhere inside, bringing you to a calm, peaceful, composed mind. If you are be able to listen just for half an hour, 1 hour to Rudra Veena music, you will see this is a result which will very automatically come to you. And that is something which personally always appealed to me, something why I thought about not only learning the instrument, but even over the years I had to learn how to manufacture the instrument, as we are in a situation today where just a very few players are left, even in India. The situation is developing a little bit in the sense of social media gives attention. There are younger generations coming up being interested, but all of them having the same problem. First of all, how to fit an instrument which needs you to learn and dedicate yourself full time. how to execute an instrument like that in your life, how to make place for it. But then it starts already with a problem like, where can I acquire an instrument like that? This instrument which you see standing in front of me was done in my own workshop here in Kolkata. We are working for the last 15, 16 years already just to manufacture a very small serial of 8 instruments. This is what it took us to design, to develop, to get through, to understand what is necessary to make this instrument. And fortunately today we are in a situation where more and more people are interested, so we are trying to bring up and develop a few instrument makers who would come back to understand the art of RUDRA Veena manufacturing in a more deep and detailed way, which is absolutely necessary if you see how customized this instrument is built according to the statue, to the structure of the body of the player, and according also to its to his or her musical tradition. So there are a lot of details which have to be learned about it. It's not that you can just go to a shop, grab an instrument like a guitar, try it and go and play. So in a way, again, this confirms when you want to get, when you want to integrate the RUDRA Veena into your life, it's not just a hobby, it's not something which you can do on Sundays, it's something which really takes everything. And there might be not too many people, but I have seen quite a few of young people taking interest, and there are always a few people who are mad enough to dive into something which requires everything from you. In a way it requires a bit of madness, but as it is always, some people go for the easy things, some people go for popular things, and some people go for the rare things. So the RUDRA Veena is something, once you get a core from that, it becomes difficult to enjoy anything else. It's certainly not for too many people, but I'm quite hopeful that it will survive also the next generations. It is something which seems to be totally out of time, and at the same time it is something which is deeply required. As I said before, if you just take the fact that the music itself is like a medicine for the mind, to bring yourself into a state, to be with yourself, that is something which is absolutely needed today. We are all hunting for it, we are all trying to reach by our phones, by our tablets or whatever. You can judge yourself how successful we are with it, and then just give it a try, listen 10-15 minutes to the RUDRA Veena and see what is changed.